Alright, so really quick in this video, let's kind of go over exactly what is ear stretching, okay? Now, ear stretching is one of those things that's been around for thousands and thousands of years. A lot of cultures did it. The Native Americans did it, the Mesoamericans, you have the Aztecs, Mayans, and then you go all the way down through Central and South America, all the Amazonian tribes were doing it. And you can shoot over to North Africa, Southeast Asia, even Europe and India, they were all doing it, and those are just the cultures that we know of. Now, it's been around for a really, really long time, and it's one of those things that it has, a lot of, it's deep rooted into all of our ancestral DNA, as weird and cheesy as that sounds, but I believe there is definitely a reason why it's come back, why people are doing it again. And that's really just because we all feel some sort of connection to it. And with that being said, it's really, really important when you're stretching ears, do it properly, There's more to it than just trying to look cool at school or have bigger ears than your friends. And you'll get there, if that's the direction you're going, you'll get there. So, but you want to get there properly, okay? And the right way to do that is by stretching, or I like to refer to it as growing your ears, okay? Now, when you're stretching your ears, you want to stretch no sooner than one size every month to 2 months, okay? And that's like the ultimate soonest right there. If you give it longer in between sizes, that's even better, all right? Now, what exactly is the size? For the smaller sizes, we have gauges, and for the larger sizes, it switches over into inches, all right? Now, let's say you start at like an 8 gauge. You have 8 gauge, 6 gauge, 4 gauge, 2 gauge, 0, and double 0 gauge, okay? After that, it switches into inches. You have 7/16, ½ inch, 9/16, 5/8, 11/16, 3/4, and so forth, all right? Now, I really want to stress when you're in those inches sizes, don't forget about the 16ths, okay? Everybody thinks the 8s are a full size, but you know what? Those 16ths are a full size also, okay? So if you're skipping those 16ths, you're skipping a size, you're stretching too fast, okay? So let's just say you start out like at an 8 gauge. You want to give it 1 month, and then you can stretch up to a 6 gauge, okay? Then for the next size, it'd be 1 to 2 months, depending on your ear. Whenever you're ready, you would skip up to a 4 gauge, then so forth and so forth, okay? Now, once let's say you're at double 0, and it's been a month or two, and you're ready to go to that next size. 7/16 is your next size, okay? Not ½ inch, all right? 7/16, 1 to 2 months more, then you can go to ½ inch. 1 to 2 months more, 9/16, not 5/8, 9/16, okay? And then so forth and so forth and so forth. So really important, don't forget about those 16th sizes, all right? Now, kind of backtrack, when I'm stretching my ears, like I said earlier, I'm thinking in terms of growing my ear and not so much stretching, okay? So like with my ears, when I started, I didn't start with this much tissue, okay? I had to grow my ears to get this much tissue, all right? So what you're doing every time you stretch your ear, whether that be each gauge or 16ths after the gauge sizes, you're just putting a plug in that's just big enough to fill the space, okay? And the space is going to be, from your ear stretching and loosening up from the previous size. So usually when you can pull your ear down, you see a little gap in there, and it's been a month or two, then you can take the next size up, single flare plugs only, never double flare, and properly lube it up, or go into a piercing shop and have them help you, and they'll pop it in, or you should be able to pop it in, okay? If I'm doing it myself, I like to do my stretching after a really hot shower. Hot showers or hot water in general just like to loosen the skin cells up and makes it a little bit easier. A water-based lube or a water-based lotion works really, really, really well also. But just really make sure that you're not forcing anything, and if it feels like it's not going, you need to give it a little bit more time, okay? But if it, it's definitely gonna feel tight, you're gonna feel some tension when it does slide in there, then you're good, okay? Now, to kind of give you a better understanding on why it's not good to overstretch your ears or stretch too fast. If you're stretching too fast or skipping sizes or not giving it the proper amount of time in between sizes, what's happening is you're causing little tears or cracks or breaks in the tissue, okay? Now what happens is when you break that tissue or crack it or tear it, that tissue opens up, and that's what gives it the space for that plug to fit in there, okay? Now what that does is that tissue doesn't heal back together. That tissue stays open and broken, and then that heals. And what that's doing is actually making your earlobe thinner, okay? And so every time you do that, your earlobe's just getting thinner and thinner and thinner. Now those plugs are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and your ear is getting actually thinner, okay? You want the reverse. You want your earlobe to be growing with the plug as the plug is getting bigger. So sometimes you'll see these guys with big ears, and they just have this thin piece of skin hanging on there. And it looks bad. It looks like crap, you know? It's not the look they're going for. And I guarantee you, every guy you ask, when you see that, they're like, I should have stretched slower. I wish I wouldn't have overstretched, or I stretched too fast. You know, when people look at your ears, you won't have to give them an explanation of why they look so bad. You want them to look at your ears and be like, oh, those look great. You know, they look really, really nice. Another thing too that could happen from overstretching or stretching too fast is blowouts. Okay, and blowouts is when you get a lot of excessive tissue hanging out the back of the ear. What's going on there is when you pop that plug in there, it's just kind of pushing the tissue on the inside of your ear and pushing out the back. And then when that heals, it just kind of like swells up and fills with scar tissue, keloids as they're commonly referred to, and they just don't look good, you know. There are little tricks, which we'll go over in a future video, on how to kind of like make them not look so crazy, but you don't want to go down that route if it's not necessary, okay? So yeah, just once again, just, you know, take your time. It's not a race. Even smaller sizes can look just as good as the bigger sizes, you know. It just might not be where you want to be at that given point in time, but go slow and keep them looking nice, and then they'll stay looking nice once you get big, and then you'll always be happy with them, okay? So hopefully that kind of like answered any questions you might have, and yeah, pretty basic, pretty simple. One size at a time, 1 to 2 months in between stretching, single flare plugs only for stretching, and yeah, pretty simple. All right, guys.